Hey, Empathic Healers, what does codependency feel like? In this video, I will guide you along the journaling process to check in with yourself, to increase your self-awareness, assess your energy, and align with the source of unconditional love. Welcome to the self-love movement. My name is Robin Knott. I am your host of Energy Healing TPM podcast on YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify, and the founder of the energyhealingschool.com. It is my deepest belief if we all loved ourselves enough, suicide wouldn't be a thing. So again, this is why we are showing up. We are checking in with ourselves. We are aligning our energy with the source of unconditional love, making sure we're okay, right? So are you ready to dig deeper? Grab your journal. I have mine ready. And then journal with me, of course. And today we are talking about emotions, which, as we know, are energy and motion, and the Sacral Chakra Energy. And of course, our journal prompt. What does codependency feel like? Like a whole list of emotional words came out for me. But before I forget to mention, if you know someone who could benefit from this video, please share it out as well. So remember, when we do our journaling process, I set the tone, right? Just kind of get mentally in that position to journal. I write out my energy healing lifestyle journal because, again, it is a lifestyle. Healing is an ongoing process. Energy healing, everything is energy. So I love having that, using that perspective as well. Not just energy healing methods like Reiki, which I love too. When I think about emotions and I think about my thoughts, when I think about beliefs, all of the things, right? And then self-care challenge, you'll notice I switched up my banner. What do they call that? A marquee right down here a little bit. So it's coming up again. You can see where it says self-care, all the letters except for one. Yeah, see it? Oops, I'm running away. Here it is. The letter E is capital. So each day I'm trying to point out that self-care, I'm using it as an acronym as well. So today is the letter E for emotions. So you'll notice in the marquee, whatever letter is capital in self-care, that's what we're on for the day. So after we get the mindset, we set the tone, we get ready, we're focusing on the journal, we're just kind of connecting within ourselves, right? And then we write out the journal prompt for the day. What does codependency feel like? And wait, as if you were asking someone else the question, wait for the answer from you. Whatever comes up, write it out. Again, even if it seems like it's way in left field, it's just the mind's way of processing. Sometimes our brain likes to avoid, or it's just not quite fully focused yet. Either way is fine. We just clear out the fog, right? So automatically for me, a whole bunch of words started coming up. So just a quick reminder too, when you think about emotions or feelings words, when you're describing how you feel or identifying those emotions, remember they're one word. So sometimes in our language, just the way we communicate and talk, and I do it too, we might describe something like, I feel like blah, 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 blah. And then I explain something. Technically, that's a thought. The whole process is a thought. When you're thinking or identifying your emotions, you're calling out one word. So this is what I mean. These are some that came up for me. So what does codependency feel? What does codependency feel like? Loneliness, exhaustion, overwhelm, lost, detached, confused, betrayed, anxious, depressed, helpless, hopeless, afraid, unworthy, and unloved. Those were just a group of words that came up pretty quickly when I asked myself that question. So then what else came up was this realization, which I really didn't have till kind of recently. Like I've been on this healing journey for a long time, right? in different aspects of my life, or different, in different ways, different methods, modalities, but still along this journey, trying to get to know me and what's going on and understanding life and myself in it and so forth. More recently along the journey, I've had that understanding of that difference between looking outwards and versus looking within, right? So when we are trying to look outside of us for validation, look outside of ourselves for love, look outside of ourselves just to feel okay, or to figure out who we are. I can remember, and I've shared this in reflection, of times when I was like waiting for someone to tell me what I liked because I didn't know, or waited for someone to tell me what I was feeling because I knew I was feeling all kinds of things, but I couldn't identify what I was feeling. I couldn't label it or describe it or name it. And I certainly didn't know that I was picking up on other people's feelings too. So I had no idea of the separation between what was mine and what was someone else's, right? So that whole thing was like a blurred blob of confusion. It's just one way of putting it. But still looking outside of self for the answer. So probably within the last decade, I learned more of the going within, sitting within with meditation, reconnecting with the source of unconditional love, and really getting to see how that detachment, and again, it's not that we're detached from spirit, we're not detached from God, so to speak. It's just we feel detached. Our focus is detached away from the source of unconditional love, again, whichever name you use. When our focus is detached and away from, then we feel that detachment. We feel the loneliness. We feel the helplessness. We feel the hopelessness. It's all the humanness or ego that we get wrapped up in and we get sucked up in, right? And then again, it's like the ego trying to help the ego trying to figure itself out, the ego trying to heal itself. It's not totally impossible to heal layers in that method. I've done it, but it's not nearly to the degree or the level once you open up again and reconnect with the source of unconditional love, right? Completely different perspective than when you're just looking through the eyes of ego humanness. What else came up here? Yeah, really, that was the biggest. So then when we feel reconnected again with the source of unconditional love, we can then start to recognize that these emotions are just the reflection from our detachment. And why that came in is because, again, in reflection, so tell me if you've done this too. When you notice these feelings, when you're in those feelings, they tend to be directed at others, right? I feel lonely because so and so hasn't been around, or they're treating me this way, or it's like it has to do with another human, right? It has to do with some relationship. And I'm feeling exhaustion. Maybe it's because I'm trying to help other people, denying my self care. So I'm wearing myself out, or I'm trying to do it all, but it's just too much and I haven't set any boundaries, right? So I'm just overgiving, and not receiving anything because I'm feeling detached, right? My focus is detached. So I'm not receiving the source of unconditional love. Like same with the overwhelm, which brings on that anxiety, and then you have that crash moment, the depression, getting confused, betrayal. That was a big one that came up in this process of when you help other people, right? We've talked about this a little bit. We've scratched the surface on this a little in the other videos. When you help other people, and ideally, there's a sense of reciprocity, right? People help each other out. You don't necessarily tally, like, okay, I helped you today, so tomorrow you're going to be doing this for me, right? And we're just going to keep score. That's not what I'm trying to say. But just generally an inflow and outflow. It could be in completely different ways, right? someone might help you in one way and then you help in another way. And sometimes it's just so natural you don't even realize that you benefit each other. It's just that flow of energy, right? And reciprocity. But when you don't receive that, because sometimes as empathic healers with traits of codependency as well, you jump in to help when it wasn't even asked of you, right? You see a moment to help, ready to fix, ready to rescue, ready to go. So you just start giving and giving and giving and volunteering it and volunteering it and volunteering it. Again, whether it was someone asked you for it or not, you just kind of feel like it's your thing, right? You're just doing it. Doing it because you care. You're doing it because you want to. You're doing it because in some ways, as you're helping people, it feels good. It feels good to help other people. But then we overgive, right, without taking care of self. So when you overgive, then you might start to feel that drainage, and then you feel might have expectations, and when that expectation isn't met, or you're not feeling a form of reciprocity, then there's that moment of feeling betrayed. The betrayal then is projected out on the other person. However, if we are honest with ourselves as we are journaling and becoming more aware, right? The goal is to be aware, assess, and align. No blame, shame, and guilt. But as we're becoming more aware, the betrayal happened within. The betrayal was within ourselves. In a sense, we betrayed ourselves by detaching our focus from the source of unconditional love on something very on a humanness level, right? Trying to jump in and be the rescuer without the boundaries. Remember, it's not love that has the boundaries, but our actions do. I want to make sure I said that right. So it's unconditional love. Love doesn't have conditions or boundaries, but our actions do. So that it's not that other people betrayed us. It's what we told ourselves, what we were expecting to happen or occur didn't happen and occur. And we are the ones who chose to detach our focus from healthy boundaries, the source of unconditional love, to put all of that focus on somebody, on a human, on human goals, on human expectations, human conditions, right? So then when we drain ourselves by doing that, we feel drained by the other person. And then we think that the person has betrayed us. But again, in a sense, we betrayed ourselves. That's a big one. That is a big one when we have to own up that stuff. It's not giving people free passes to treat us like jerks. I mean, there are differences in situations. However, how far things go or what we are willing to do or what we're willing to give away is on us. We ultimately make that decision for ourselves. Right? So even if people try to manipulate us, because there are those situations when things like that occur, right? I'm trying to think of some outliers that or different situations that we could question. So even when people are manipulating, like at some point, or if we are able, when we are able to recognize it, because if you're being manipulated, oftentimes you don't recognize it. But when you are, then what choice do you make at that point, right? That part is ours. Just checking my journal again to make sure I said everything that I listed there. I did. Yeah, let's set that aside. So those are big things, right? Free will and accountability and boundaries. But that's a huge thing with characteristics and patterns of codependency is that we miss the boundaries. We miss the boundaries. We overfocus on someone who needs help. And then we detach our focus from the source of unconditional love. And I like that word popped in, to be honest, because to say that we are detached from God or detached from the source of unconditional love isn't accurate. It's a feeling. We can feel detached, but we're not actually detached. But we detach our focus. right? We want to show up and live in spirit, right? We want to live in the energy and the space of love. But when we detach our focus from that and jump into the humanness, the human rescuer, the human fixer, the human people pleaser, right? That's all human is ego stuff. No blame, shame, and guilt because it's done in good intentions, but it's really not helping ourselves or others when we do that, right? We were kind of misprogrammed to believe it was helpful. It's a big one today, right? But proud of you for showing up and doing the work and listening and writing it through and allowing yourself to hear it because sometimes we don't want to, right? Sometimes it's hard to hear, even when we say it to ourselves. Do you ever catch yourself? You're like, okay, quit resisting it. Just receive it. Just own it. Let's see what we can do differently, right? How can I do something that is more in alignment with the source of unconditional love and boundaries, right? I won't say names, even though she posted publicly, but it was interesting to hear someone say that they didn't like the word boundaries, that they felt that was just another word for control. I just found that very interesting. Not picking on the person because this is our perspective, right? Whatever our experience is, that's our perspective. And just from my own perspective, it's like that's boundaries should be what's in place to prevent people from trying to control us, right? That should be the thing that keeps more of an even flow and not having it all be one way or another. But again, people's experiences are different. So what is it for you? You know? Yeah, I think that's it, guys. The homework. Keep doing what you're doing. Check in with yourself, journal, increase your self-awareness, assess your energy. If you're not already, what can you do to get in alignment with the source of unconditional love? Hold space for yourself. Toss out the blame, shame, and guilt. There's been enough of that, right? You've done enough of that in your life. I've done enough of that in my life. Tossing it out. We're not blaming others. We're not shaming others. We're not guilting others. And we're certainly not doing it to ourselves. If you haven't already, again, sign up for the Empathic Healers Masterclass, a step-by-step guide to set boundaries and protect your energy. So if you would like that link, let me know in the comments and I will get that for you. And also the 5-day BU challenge. You know, Iona would say, well, of course you're going to be you. Who else would you be? And I'm like, well, let me say, now it's me. There was a time though, right? Part of codependency, you become this chameleon and you just shift, talk about shape shifting, not literally, but you kind of shift your characteristics and your personality to fit situations, right? To be accepted and received and how to survive different situations. And in a sense, you feel like you lose yourself, or maybe you haven't found yourself yet. It's very interesting, but that's the challenge, to be you. So if you would like more information on that challenge, also drop that in the links and I will get that for you. Thank you for hopping on and sharing your time and space. Have a wonderful day, evening, whatever time in the world it is for you. And I will see you tomorrow. Take good care. Bye, guys.